Welcome in to the Betting the Pitch Bundesliga episode. I'm your host, Real underscore G Warner. We'll go through a preview for the German Bundesliga season, specifically going from 18 to 1, from lowest in total market value to top. We do have some lines to discuss in terms of numbers to win the German Bundesliga, odds to win the Bundesliga without exhibitive, whatever favorite, big favorite Bayern München, top four finish, and then also even a top goal scorer, as a few names are listed. And of course, we'll give an idea of kind of what we're expecting from each of the clubs in Germany this season. I'm your host, Real underscore G Warner. You can find me on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. Hopefully, I'll have a better intro for the rest of the podcast this season, and we'll come up with a best bet for the German football season at the end of the show. Should expect another episode on Serie A in Italy, likely tomorrow on Thursday. It is August 20th recording. And we'll still be doing most likely an episode on Friday for the club season that's beginning and has started already in England, France, and in Spain. But without further ado, let's get to the lowest budgeted club, or at least lowest squad total market value, as according to Transfer Market, a German-based um, site, which you're not familiar with it. They're pretty good, and ultimately they should know Germany pretty well, considering they are German. So we'll start with San Pauli. They're worth approximately 48.15 million euros, the lowest in the German Bundesliga by nearly 10 million euros. And they were a promoted team from last season, stayed in the Bundesliga despite scoring very infrequently. They had real trouble scoring any goals at home, weirdly enough, but could score away from home in terms of what they've kind of stuck around. So Alexander Blessing, formerly of Union Saint-Gilloise in Belgium, he is currently in position, still in his role in Germany in Hamburg, which is where St. Pauli is playing. Also should be interesting when Hamburg are in the league this season. But in terms of what they've done with their team, and I'll get into odds in a second, or maybe I'll just address the odds right now. I think relegation numbers are probably most relevant to San Pauli being lowest squad value. I don't know necessarily that a top four finish is really that likely. They are currently, let's see, not listed. What? Really? No. Okay. 28 to 1 odds to finish top four in the German Bundesliga. I'll guess that's probably unlikely to occur. So, top arrivals, Morgan Guilavogui, who has come in from Lens in France, but was already around last season. Joel Chima Fujita, that's a central midfielder coming in from Saint Truidens. Don't know them. Matthias Pereira-Lage coming in on a free transfer from Stade Brestois, part of a pretty deep team there. Andreas Huntunji coming in from Burnley on loan. Arkadiusz Szpilka, a name I've never heard before, right back from Piast Gliwice, which I believe must be Polish, would be my guess. In terms of departure, Philip Treyu has gone to Sport Club Freiburg. Guilavogui now also gone and has gone somewhere else to back to Lens. So I'm confused by that one, but I guess he was bought and then sold. Maybe he was sold back. Confusing. Elias Saad, who has gone to Augsburg, also in Germany. Johannes Eggestein has left, and he is a center forward that has left for Austria Vienna. And then also Carlo Bucalfa has left on a free transfer, and he was a central midfielder who had played some minutes. He's gone to FC St. Gallen just across the road, or I guess state lines or country lines, to St. Gallen, I believe, in Switzerland. So, in terms of their departures, Treyu, a right back, he or True Trey, I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, right back was the starter for St. Pauli last season. That's a problem. Elias Saad didn't play a lot, was injured for a lot of the season, but was part of their really limited goal scoring offense, but it was fairly important to them as well. I'm not sure necessarily that you can see too much of a change from this club. They possessed the ball pretty well, ran more than almost anybody in the German Bundesliga last season. Unfortunately, their star captain, leader, everything, Australian international Jackson Irvine is out with foot surgery. So that's going to be a big problem trying to fill his hole in the middle. But we'll see what ends up happening with this club and see if they can find goals. We'll move next to Heidenheim. They are valued about 10 million euros more, as I said, about 57.5 million euros. They were narrowly after qualifying somehow for the Conference League out of Germany. It was kind of amazing they stayed up last season, but good for them. Frank Schmidt, who's been in the starting or in manager role since 2007, he's still around, and that's a good sign for solidarity moving forward. In terms of their arrivals, they brought in a goalkeeper on loan from Borussia Dortmund, Diant Ramay, I believe. Arjan Ibrahimovic is coming on loan for Bayern München. They've also had some, I guess, promotions from their younger squad, but that's kind of what Heidenheim really did. And I think part of why they started to play a lot better in the second half of last season is they got some pretty talented loanees from Bayern München. Not sure you can expect that again. It's certainly not something I want to rely upon, though they don't have to worry about any European play this season. In terms of departures, lots of goalkeeper who's got a no club. Christopher Nagele is left on a free transfer, and Norman Tyrkov, I believe, was a defensive midfielder and defender. It's not a lot of movement there, honestly. Marvin Pieringer, one of their goal scoring center forwards, he is out with an ankle injury, return date unknown. Adrian Beck is also got a bruise with a return unknown. So we'll see how healthy they are in terms of other players that don't seem meaningful with injury numbers or injury plus signs next to their name on the transfer market site. Um, and I'm curious to see kind of what this team is because Heidenheim were able to score goals, and that's really why they finished in a European position a couple seasons ago. But didn't really happen, or maybe their defense wasn't as good. But it's going to be a question for me if how long they can stay in the Bundesliga, especially with pretty low squad value at present. Hamburger SV, the bigger Hamburg, famous name and club in Hamburg, Germany, the northern side. They'll be have a great battles. I feel like that's a match to go to. Is St. Pauli and Hamburger SV in the German Bundesliga because you don't really see that too frequently. Anyway, Hamburger, they're worth about 69 million euros. Nice. Third lowest in the German Bundesliga. It's been a long time since they've gotten back to the Bundesliga. It's been one of those big clubs that was expected to get there, and we'll see what happens and how that goes in their return to the top flight. Marilyn Polzin, a 34-year-old manager, was appointed just before Christmas 2024. Has not been around very long, but has gotten the team to German Bundesliga. Congratulations to him. They were, I think, second, so they're runners up in the Schweizerliga second division last season. In terms of departures and arrivals, Yusuf Poulsen has come in for RB Leipzig, probably because he was barely playing and wanted to move on, though he had been at Leipzig for so long. Nicolas Capaldo has come in from Red Bull Salzburg for 2.1 million euros, not a huge price there. Jordan Torunariga, a center back from Ghent, has come in. He's been around the Bundesliga before. Ryan Philippi, not to be confused with the actor. I don't think he started as soccer. Would be very old for the Bundesliga. And Nikolai Remberg has come in from Holstein Kiel, who were relegated last season. In terms of departures, Ludovic Reis has left for Bruges for 6 million euros. That's fairly expensive. David Selke has left for Başakşehir in Turkey. Lucas Perin has left as center back to Sporting Gijon. And other names I don't really know very well at all. I guess a central midfielder probably looks like the biggest loss. They've filled that void and brought in some decent names that have had some history in the Bundesliga. I think we need to see what happens with this club and see how they can handle the level that is going to be, I think, the biggest challenge for Hamburg to move back up to the Bundesliga because they've never really looked good in the years I've been following the club against top division sides. We move next to FC Köln, who are back after a pretty quick sojourn in the Schweizer Liga. Good for them. They were winners of the Schweizer Liga last season. Worth about 79 million euros, and they have a great, huge crowd behind them. But it's not that hard of a place to play. So I feel like there's some value in fading them at home, which is not really something I'm looking to do too much in the Bundesliga. Lukas Kwasniok, sure, is the manager. He was appointed in July of this season. So new manager coming in. We'll see how that ends up going. In terms of player moves, Rav Vandenberg has come in as a center back from Middlesbrough for nearly 8 million euros, which is saying something for Cologne, who have been a club that were pretty much banned from making any sort of transfers, and that's part of why they went down a couple seasons ago from the Bundesliga to the Schweizer Liga. Ragnar Aje is from has come in from Kaiserslautern for 4.5 million euros. I think he's been around, I want to say Eintracht Frankfurt, and maybe even Cologne before. Isaac Johansson has come in from Fortuna Düsseldorf for 5.5 million euro. Jakob Kaminski on loan from Wolfsburg, who's a not really frequent player for the Wolfsburg side. Tom Kraus, who's come in from Mainz on loan, formerly of Schalke 04. In terms of departures, Damian Downs has left for 8 million euros to play center forward for Southampton. That's saying something, especially for a championship level team purchasing from a Bundesliga promoted side. Tim Lemperle has moved on center forward to TSG Hoffenheim. Dejan Lubicic is gone on a free transfer to Dinamo Zagreb. Max Finkgrafe to RB Leipzig for 4 million euros. That might be their biggest loss there at left back, though Damian Downs, center forward, double the price probably means something too. And Rasmus Carstensen gone as a right back to Aarhus GF, whatever that means, not girlfriend. But he was a decent interview a couple seasons ago when the team was playing really badly, but things have changed since then, and now they're back at the top division. Another club I think we need to see how they play, and I probably need to catch up as I don't have relegation numbers, unfortunately, for the Bundesliga. But Heidenheim are 50 to 1 to finish top four. St. Pauli, who I already mentioned, is 28 to 1. Hamburg, 28 to 1. Cologne, all the way down to 14 to 1. And that feels very respectful for the fourth least valued squad. Move next to the German Bundesliga, pretty much teams that have been there and around for a while. Football Club Augsburg at 122.83, nearly 123 million euros. And they've had a really good run under their manager, Jes Torup, who really basically just brought an ability to counterattack and counter press that has been really difficult for any sort of team across the Bundesliga. Well, he's gone. Sandro Wagner has now come in, 37 years old, started and was appointed in July 1st of 2025. In terms of rivals, they brought in Krislan Matsima from Monaco, center back for 5 million euros. Cedric Zessiger for 4 million from Wolfsburg. Hanno Mesengo from Burnley for 3 million euros. Elias Saad, who we've already mentioned, from St. Pauli. Robin Fehlhauer for 700k from Elversberg in the second division. In terms of departures, they lost Felix Urukai to Besiktas in Turkey. Dion Bellio, center forward to Dinamo Zagreb. Fredrik Jensen to Thessaloniki, the Aris version, on a free transfer. Ivan Cardona to Saint Etienne, who's already gone, if I remember correctly. And Henry Kudusu has left for Nuremberg. I feel like a lot of these moves had already occurred, so I'm not sure that they're big issues. And honestly, I don't think that a lot has changed. The biggest question is their manager. Augsburg currently 20 to 1 odds to finish in the top four. I'm not sure that I'm expecting much there, I must say, but we'll end up seeing, of course. In terms of I guess the biggest question is what do they do? Are they able to continue the same vein that Jes Torup had put this team into? Finn Dahlman, a goalkeeper, had been around the German Bundesliga but never able to get a shot. He's been awesome for the club. I'm not sure that I see too much about relegation threats, but with a new manager after being so good under Thorup, we'll see what they can do under a new leader. We'll move next to SV Werder Bremen, worth over just north of 123 million euros and one of the most prominent famous clubs in Germany, but we'll see if they can end up, I guess, returning to old glory. They are on the road at Eintracht Frankfurt. First matchup, I believe, on Saturday. Horst Steffen has come in as manager, appointed July 1st of this season, I believe, because it must be that Oliveira had left for a bigger club. In terms of arrivals, they brought in Imbangula on, as I thought I was going to say on loan, but from Juventus for 10 million euros. That's a big spend for them. Maximilian Volba has come in as a center back on loan from Leeds, and then everyone else has been promoted from their lower sides. Marvin Dusch is gone to Birmingham City in Tom Brady's club, I believe, in the championship for 2 million euros. Pretty cheap, but he was a good goal scorer for him. Mikel Zetere, their goalkeeper, who basically stole a job from a Czech Republic international or Czechia international before. He's now gone to Eintracht Frankfurt for 5 million euros. Milos Veljkovic is gone to Slavia Prague, I believe. No, that's Red Star Belgrade. And then Oliver Burke gone to Union Berlin on a free transfer. David Konachi gone to Hertha Berlin in the second division. I don't know that they're huge losses here, but ultimately, excuse me, I don't know. Let me change that. So they brought in a really expensive left winger and spent a lot of money, which is kind of a surprise because Werder Bremen have been broke for years, it feels to me. They've lost their best goal scorer creator, all those sort of things. Marvin Dush, he's certainly had some sort of personality issues and things of that nature. But they made 2 million, but that's not a lot. They lost their goalkeeper. They've lost center back and an impact sub. So I've got some questions about what this team's going to look like. Though honestly, most of these clubs are just kind of in the Bundesliga. They are getting younger at every chance. Marco Friedl, their center and captain center back, is still around. Vogel will see what he can perform as he's dealing with a hamstring injury. Amos Pieper, another center back for them as well with a hip injury. So they might be a little bit thin in the center backs, and that's certainly something we need to figure out. We'll see where their goals come from. Mitchell Weiser also injured, cruciate ligament tear. That's a big deal. So we'll see how healthy this team looks, and it's not going to be an easy start for them with Eintracht Frankfurt. Werder Bremen 10-1 odds to finish top four. Again, not really interested in that type of thing. So we'll move next to Union Berlin, worth about 125 million euros. They are, of course, playing in one of the best stadium atmospheres, another place I really want to get. Stefan Baumgart was appointed right after the New Year's in 2025, has stuck around and kept the team up, though there's some pretty bad teams in the Bundesliga last year. In terms of arrivals, Andre Ilic, center forward from Lille, but he was already there last season. Derek Cohn, a left back from Galatasaray, I think formerly of Köln. Woo Young-jung coming in from Stuttgart. Ilias Ansa coming in from Paderborn. Oliver Buck, a free transfer. So they've spent in terms of what they sold. Benedikt Hallerbach, center forward, a lot of pace to Mainz. Robin Gosens, 7 million euros to Fiorentina. Laszlo Benish, loan transfer. He's gone. Ivan Piertin, don't know that, to Kaiserslautern, and Kevin Volk on a free transfer to Volcom in the second division. So they've spent a lot and they have sold a little. So I'm kind of interested to see. Never really you expect Union Berlin to sell, but or to buy, excuse me. So I'm very curious of what they're going to look like. They're 25-1 odds to finish top four. I'm pretty interested based on what they've bought this season to see what that looks like. Certainly turning one player into more other talented ones, and they need depth, as do most teams near the bottom in the Bundesliga. But it's such a long shot. I mean, I think they have a better chance to finish higher than some of the teams already mentioned, but still a really long way to go, unfortunately. Move next to FSA Mainz 05, currently valued just south of 140 million euros, and they have had a really good run under Bo Hendrickson. They seem to always flirt with relegation and then had a great season last season. We'll see how that ended up turning. Just mentioned buying Benedikt Hallerbach from Union Berlin for 10 million euros. Sota Kawasaki on loan for 200K from a team I've never seen before. The logo, you could say that from Kyoto. Casey Boss coming in from Melbourne for 500K. Konstantin Schopp. So it seems like they bought Benedikt Hallerbach, and that was after selling Jonathan Burkhardt, who is a former German international to under 21 captain. Ludovic Ajorc has gone back to France to Stade Brestois. Tom Cross, as already mentioned, on loan to Cologne. Heung-Min Sok has gone to Nantes, and Edmilson Fernandes has gone to BSC Young Boys Bern in Switzerland. So they've brought in and spent 10 million euros on center forward, but have sold a lot, and that's something that worries me. But ultimately, Bo Hendrickson, who's basically the Jurgen Klopp, former manager of Mainz, Jurgen Klopp currently at Bundesliga, I think. We'll see what he does, and the most important thing is keeping what they had together with, to me, is Jasong Lee, Paul Nabel, and Nadim Amiri still all on the roster. We'll see if they keep them. Those are the most important pieces to me, alongside Robin Zentner, a great goalkeeper who's still there as well. We'll move next to Borussia Mönchengladbach, the biggest and best club besides Bayern München in the history of the Bundesliga or in Germany in general. But it's been a while since Steve Fohlen have been up the top. They've been climbing, though. However, they're worth just south of 150 million euros, and let's get into their squad here. Currently, Borussia Mönchengladbach 8-1 odds to finish top four. That's something that I'd be a little bit more interested in, as I don't think they're high enough to finish in a winning type of position. Gerardo Seoane has been around and kind of kept his job surprisingly. Has been around the Bundesliga to say the least. I want to say he's Austrian, Swiss actually. But top arrivals, they bought Machino from Holstein Kiel, who were relegated last season. Jens Kastrup from Nuremberg. 8 million euros for Machino, 4.5 for Kastrup. Kevin Dix has come in, free transfer from Copenhagen. Haris Tabakovic on loan for 750K from Hoffenheim. and Noah Pesh, who seems to be have been promoted. Ko Itakura, the Japanese, has left for Ajax. Alassane Plea to PSV Eindhoven. So they've lost two pretty important players, starters all the time when healthy, to the Dutch Eredivisie. Thomas Vantra has gone to Antalyaspor in Turkey on loan. Stefan Leiner has gone to Red Bull Salzburg, but he beat cancer and really wasn't, I don't think, playing much for them anyway. And Vandro Borges Sanchez is gone to Heracles Almelo for 500K. So, see a lot of injuries up here. Tim Kleinge is probably the most important and looks like he's been listed as captain, not expected to return till October, end of October, October 31st, that is. Scary, and we'll see what that does for the club. That's a big loss for them because he's their goal scorer and was brought in from Heidenheim last season and was great. That's a concern for me. We'll see how that goes this season. Kevin Stoger's still around and he's good for some goals, but I'm not sure how much they'll do without Kleindienst. We'll move next to TSG Hoffenheim, worth nearly 160 million euros, which is far higher than I expected. So I'm guessing they've made some moves. Christian Ilzer has come in mid-season last year, November 15th of and has no end date to his contract, apparently, manager for life. Came in, I believe, from Sturm Graz in Austria. I was not impressed with him and don't think he's a very good manager. And maybe the market agrees. 14 to 1 odds to finish top four, considering Gladbach at 8 to 1. In terms of arrivals, Koki Mochida has come in from Union Saint-Gilloise for 4.75 million euros. Leon Advodula from Basel has come in for 8 million euros. And then a bunch of free transfers. Bernardo, starter for Bochum. Tim Lemperle, center forward from Köln. Vladimir Sufal coming back to the Bundesliga from West Ham United, though I'm not sure he'd been there before, actually. In terms of departures, they lost Tom Bischoff to Bayern Munchen, who I guess was free to leave, and they only got 300K for probably their best player. Anton Stach has left for Leeds. Joshua Corshi, I don't know that name, 3.5 million euros, center back to Southampton. Haris Tabakovic on loan to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Yardimchi's gone, but I don't think that matters. It's really a big deal is losing Tom Bischoff, who is their pride and joy in the future, and Anton Stach for 20 million euros. So, I'm concerned about what they have to replace. They've spent some money, sold more, and I need to see some sort of production before I want to stop fading this team because I feel like they're one of the most overrated. And Oliver Baldwin at 35 years old as their goalkeeper has bailed them out of a lot of situations. We'll move next to Sport Club Freiburg, worth 167.7 million euros, and they are plus 225 to finish top four after a good season last year. Probably still too far out because they can't beat the big teams to even come close to a title type of run. Julian Schuster is still there, coming home and taking over for Christian Streich. In terms of the arrivals, they brought in Yuto Suzuki, and they have great recruiting from the past. They brought in a Brøndby international striker from, I'm guessing Japan, but came in from Sweden for 10 million euros. Cyriac Irie from Estaktois for about 8.5 million euros on a right wing. Igor Matanovic, center forward from Eintracht Frankfurt for 6.7 million euros. Philip Treu from San Paulo, you've already mentioned, for 5.5. Derry Scherhunt for 2 million euros from Hertha BSC in the second division, Zweite Liga. I'm fairly impressed by how much they've bought. They sold Risu Duan for 21 million euros to Eintracht Frankfurt. Kylian Sildilia for 5.8 to PSV Eindhoven. Robert Wagner has gone for 200 million or 200,000 on loan, excuse me, to Holstein Kiel in the lower division. Mikhail Gregorich has gone for 1.5 million euros, and he's a good goal scorer for them. Florent Musliev has gone on loan to it looks like Fortuna Düsseldorf in the second division. And that's probably because he didn't play much. So that's not so bad. I mean, they selling Doan is tough, but they've done that. Sold Roland Scholai the year before. Kylian Sedelia, a very right back, right fullback type of young player, and definitely has a lot of ability and flexibility. That's a concern, I think. We'll see what happens there. And of course, coming in a lot of new players. We'll see how they work that in. Julian Schuster, I feel like he was not that impressive to me last season, but they did a lot of good buys. The previous season, Noah Weishaupt is back from St. Pauli's loan, and we'll see what happens with if they can ever get Daniel Kofi Carey on the pitch. He's super fast in FIFA, and I imagine will be fast elsewhere as well. In terms of center backs, Matthias Ginter and Philipp Lienhardt are still there. Anthony Jung has come in from Werder Bremen as well. So those are good things to kind of backfill that defense. And Freiburg played really well at home, so that's something to pay attention to. Move next to VfL Wolfsburg, nearly 100 million euros more valuable as a team, as a club. And that means for the top four finish, Wolfsburg are 12 to 1 compared to the did I do this right? Compared to Freiburg at plus 425. I might have said that wrong. But three times less likely to finish in the top four despite 100 million euros more in value, about double, nearly double, not that close, but something like that. Anyway, Paul Simonis has come in as a new manager appointed in July as Wolfsburg continue to spend and never seem to get the results. Mohamed Amoura has, I guess, made an official move from Union Saint-Gilloise. He was great, very good pace, was awesome, talented, all those sort of things. Jesper Lindstrom has come back from Napoli on a 1.5 million euro loan. Vinny Sosa has come in from Sheffield United for 15 million euros. Denis Favro, 2 million euros from FC Copenhagen, already played for Wolfsburg last season. Aaron Zentner from looks like from Paderborn. That's a new name. I don't know him very well. In terms of departures, Thiago Tomas gone to Stuttgart, Cedric Zeziger gone to Augsburg, Sebastian Bornau gone to Leeds, Jakub Kaminski on loan to Köln, Lucas Mecha on a free transfer to Leeds. So there's been a lot that's come in. Jesper Lindstrom, who was great in the Bundesliga in the past for Eintracht Frankfurt, we'll see if he can kind of get his legs under him. And they brought in a good central defensive midfielder for a lot of money. They've sold Thiago Tomas, who's a starter, but not that important to me, as important as Mohamed Amoura was last year. And a lot of the center backs have gone. I'm not sure they're as important as it suggests. I don't see where the squad is valued to this level. I don't think they are that strong. So that seems to me like a team that's overvalued and one that I'll potentially try to be against this season. We'll move next to Stuttgart. They are winners of the DFB Pokal last season. They're worth nearly 308, well, just over 307 million euros according to Transfer Market. So we are climbing to the big boys in terms of value, and they certainly have had a big club history, but had spent some time in the second division, of course. In terms of their manager, Sebastian Hoeneß is still around, former manager of Hoffenheim with a very famous father in the German Bundesliga. In terms of arrivals, Tomashu, I just mentioned, Lawrence Ossignon coming in from Rennes in France, Lazar Jovanovic from Red Star Belgrade, 5 million euros, Chema Andres, central midfielder from Real Madrid, Castilla, the younger team, Noah Darovic, attacking midfielder from Barcelona's Athletic Club, so younger club as well. In terms of departures, Enzo Mio has gone for 28 million euros to Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia. Jakob Brun Larsen gone to Burnley for 4 million euros. Wu Yun Jong gone to Union Berlin. Henri Chase, who was one of their younger players, potentially would be in the future an important player for them, I thought, but 2 million euros to Red Bull Salzburg on purchase. Dennis Simon, a goalkeeper, gone on loan. So they've lost a little. Mio is certainly important and been playing a lot. Wu Yun Jong had already moved on. They brought in some strong players and certainly have some European football to think about, worry about, all those sort of things. Nick Voltamesi, that's important. And Stuttgart, they're currently plus 350 to finish top four, and that's dropped 22% since I initially grabbed this number, plus 450 down to plus 350. And that does seem to interest me a little bit. This market does tell a little bit there. In terms of odds to win without Bayern Munich, Stuttgart 25 to 1. So they're still not expected to be great compared to their peers. And to win it all, they are a 125 to 1 odds. That's what happens if Bayern Munich is in your league. Move next to Eintracht Frankfurt. So they are worth 344 million euros. And Paxton Harrison, the latest rumor to move back to the MLS. Good for them, I guess. Dino Topmuller still around. Good manager. Like him a lot. In terms of what they've spent, 21 million euros to acquire both Jonathan Burkhardt and Rizzo Doan. So 42 million outlay there. They paid 6 million euros to, I guess, capture Rasmus Christensen, who's already playing right back for them on loan from Leeds. Mikael Zetterer, as already mentioned, bought as a goalkeeper from Werder Bremen. And then another guy named Love, I've never heard of. In terms of departures, Hugo Ekitike gone for 95 million euros to Liverpool. I don't even think he was a finished product, but that's a good sale for them for sure. And Eintracht Frankfurt are great at that. Tuta has lost to some Saudi club. Igor Matatovic has gone to Freiburg. Kevin Trapp has left for Paris FC, German, but I guess wanted to go back to France. That's bizarre. Did play for PSG previously, maybe a wife decision. And Nacho Ferry has gone 2 million euros to KVC Westerlo, I believe, in the Eredivisie. So they've spent a lot. I don't know that the Ugo Ekitike sale is that bad. They did sell Marmoush as well to Manchester City. So those are some problems, to say the least. Eli Wahi is a great player at 22 years old. Michu Batshuayi is a older player that can certainly get some goals. Rizudon coming in. I mean, this is a good club. They're going to have a lot of talent, and that's certainly something to think about. Their two top four finish, they're 225. When I said that earlier, that was I meant Eintracht, or I meant to say Freiburg's, but that was actually Eintracht Frankfurt's number. In terms of to win the Bundesliga without Bayern München, so basically come in second, they are 20 to 1 odds. So still pretty significant climb to the other three clubs we're going to get to. We'll move next to Dortmund, 39, or excuse me, 399 million euros in value. Pretty valuable, to say the least. They are managed by Niko Kovac, who's come in February of 2025, and I don't think it was that impressive, but you could say that was a Dortmund thing or Dortmund's fault. Who knows? Top arrivals, Joe Bellingham has come in from Sunderland for 30.5 million euros. Jan Couto is playing there last year for Manchester City or previously from Girona. Daniel Svensson has come in and was playing there last year as well and got hurt from Nordsjælland. Patrick Dwevis from Bochum as a backup goalkeeper. In terms of departures, they sold Jamie Gittins for 56 million euros. Yusufa Moukoko has left for Copenhagen. Sumile Koulibaly gone to Strasbourg, who I don't really know very well, and then some other free and loan transfers, so not a big deal there. I think I mean, we'll see what the younger Bellingham can do. Of course, he's going to move to Dortmund. That made sense. Jan Kutu is not very good in the Bundesliga last season, didn't play much. We'll see. And I'm very curious about the health for Svensson, who actually does not have an injury plus sign next to his name. So I guess young legs, he is healed. Big question is, what does Seru Girassi do this year? Maximilian Baia, Conor Adeyemi, all great players all together. But I do think Gittins will be a little bit of a loss, and we'll see how much will Gio Reyna actually play. 399 million euros in value, minus 450 to finish top four. I don't trust them at all for that type of number. I'll put it that way. Moving up the ladder to Bayer Leverkusen, worth 411 and change million euros. They are, let's see, they are minus 900, so 1 to 9 to finish top four. They are plus 150 to win the Bundesliga without Bayern München. Borussia Dortmund plus 165. And then to win the whole thing, including Bayern München, Leverkusen are 8 to 1, Borussia Dortmund 10 to 1. So, I mean, those are decently sized numbers, but I think they're getting too much respect. Though honestly, Xabi Alonso was not good. So in comes Eric Ten Hag. We'll see what he does when he's not managing when he's not managing the buying club in England, excuse me, and that's Manchester United. So in terms of what they've done and what they've moved, as I try to click to load this, they have sold Gerald Kwanzaa, 35 million euros. Actually, no, they bought him from Liverpool to play in center defense. Malik Tillman has come in from PSV Eindhoven for 35 million euros. Ibrahim Matza has come in at the BSC to play attacking midfield. Mark Flecken, goalkeeper, brought back from Brentford for 11 million euros to Leverkusen, formerly of Sport Club Freiburg. Ernest Poku on 10 million euros from AZ Alkmaar in the Dutch Eredivisie. And where did all this money come from? Well, they received 165 million euros from Liverpool, selling Florian Wirtz and Jeremy Frimpong. Jonathan Tah has left as a center back for Bayern München. Odilon Kosunu has left to Atalanta to play center back, though I think he was out there and already playing for them last year. But 20 million euros is pretty large. And Granit Xhaka for 15 million euros to the newly promoted Sunderland in the English Premier League. So a lot of sales, some buys, and it's going to be hard to see what this team's going to be like until we watch them play. I'm not sure I'm a believer in Eric Ten Hag, and I think I'm pretty satisfied with believing in this club. They got their Bundesliga title win, but I'm not sure they're going to get much more than that. And we got one more team before we get to Bayern Munchen, and that is RB Leipzig. Currently, Leipzig to finish top four, just minus 190. So they're the, I guess, cheapest odds-on favorite behind Dortmund and Leverkusen, despite being valued at 80 million more than Leverkusen and nearly 100 more than Borussia Dortmund. In terms of to win the Bundesliga without Bayern Munchen, Leipzig are third most likely at plus 450, basically for runner-up prize, and to Bayern and Leipzig are 16 to 1 to win the Bundesliga. Coming off a really, really poor season, Marco Rosa is gone, and Ole Werner has come in, who I've already mentioned, leaving Werder Bremen. 37 years old, pretty young. We'll see what they can do because they were big time underachievers last season. In terms of rivals, Johan Bakayoko has come in from PSV Eindhoven. Arthur Vermeeren coming in from Atletico Madrid for 20 million euros, 18 for Bakayoko. Jan Diamande, left winger from Leganes, who was relegated in La Liga last year at 20 million euros. Romulo coming in for 20 million for center forward. And Ezekiel Banzuzi, 16 million euros from On Leuven, it looks like to me. Ode Everly Leuven, central midfielders. So they've spent a fair amount of money, 16 or more million euros on right wingers, defensive midfielder. But Vermeeren was already playing at Leipzig last season, to be fair. Right, left winger, center forward, center midfielders. They spent a lot on trying to score goals, and we'll see how that goes. They sold Benjamin Šeško for 76.5 million euros to Manchester United. Alex Moriba is gone to Celta Vigo, but he was already gone. Yusuf Poulsen as a backup striker is gone. Andre Silva gone to Elche in Spain. Janis Blažević as a goalkeeper gone to Bayer Leverkusen as I guess Leverkusen was really trying to build their goalkeeper position. A lot of movement there, a lot of money spent. We'll see what happens. Luis Openda stuck around. I thought he was better than Šeško was in the German Bundesliga last season, though Šeško I thought was better internationally. I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and there's a lot of moving pieces to this team. So we'll see what that all looks like. I do like the Kosan Nedeljkovic, the Serbian coming in on loan from Aston Villa, and I honestly I don't really think that Dortmund nor Leverkusen are that really talented. Plus Leipzig in a position where they're worth so much more than these clubs and rated worse according to all the betting metrics. That does interest me a fair amount. We'll get last but not least to Bayern Munchen, prohibitive favorite across the board to win everything, it seems. But we'll get to that right now. And that is, yeah, it's time. So Bayern Munchen, they are worth nearly 900 million euros, about double Leipzig, who probably are overvalued in that network based on young players and their futures. Vincent Kompany won the Bundesliga, didn't win the DFB Pokal, was okay in Champions League, but literally got knocked out at home in a loss to Inter Milan, who then got blasted in the final. I don't think I was that impressed, but I guess winning the Meisterschale after not winning it was something. In comes Luis Diaz for 70 million euros from Liverpool. Tom Bischoff for 300K. What a steal from Hoffenheim. Jonathan Tah coming in, who's to me not a great center back, but they've had problems there for many years. And then the rest of the big names are actually not big names. Departures, Matthias Tell has gone to Tottenham, but he was already gone. Leroy Sané has gone on a free transfer to Galatasaray in Turkey. Joao Palhinha has gone to Tottenham, but he wasn't playing much. Kingsley Coman, 25 million euros to Saudi Arabia, to Al Nassr. And Brian Zaragoza on loan back to Spain to Celta de Vigo. There's never a lack of talent for a Bayern Munchen side that are prohibitive favorites to win the whole thing in the Bundesliga. They are, let's see, do we even have, okay, so to finish top four, they are minus 10,000. So $10,000 will win you 100. I don't think that's worth it, to say the least. It probably will happen, however. To win the Bundesliga, minus 400, 1-4 odds on favorite by far. That's a lot to me. And I think generally we look for ways to fade them. And sometimes it's really hard to do because they'll have some bad performances, and any team does, but they also murder teams left to right. And Harry Kane will probably score 1 million goals this year, which I did want to bring that up as a potential possibility to discuss the, I guess, top goal scorer numbers. And what a surprise, odds on favorite Harry Kane. And that really depends on health. Jamal Musiala, the broken fibula, return unknown. Paul Vanna on loan from his loan spell with Heidenheim. He's got a ligament injury. Those are some decent injuries to think about. Alphonso Davies gone until the end of September. Hiroki Ito signed last season, I think, over from I want to say Borussia Mönchengladbach, if I remember correctly. He's got a broken foot. So there's got a lot of injuries over there. Manuel Neuer is still around at 39 years old. Ulrich, who basically took that starting position last season. We'll see what that kind of position share looks like, probably one in the Bundesliga and one in the Champions League. Um, but to me, there's so much talent here, and that's always going to be the case. So I guess we might as well get to the top goal scorer. Then I'll plug some things. I'll get an ultimate best bet and get out of here. So top goal scorer, Harry Kane minus 150. Seru Girassi, I mentioned when talking to Dortmund as 5-1 odds. Patrick Schick at Leverkusen 6.5-1, especially with Boniface leaving most likely in this transfer window. Michael Olise, 12-1 odds for Bayern München. Burkhardt, Eintracht Frankfurt. Luis Diaz, Luis Openda. Boniface, who's about to leave. Musiala's hurt. Maximilian Bayer, Veltamata, Adeyemi, Batshuayi. Kleindienst, who's hurt, Undav for Stuttgart, Demirovic for Stuttgart, Kramaric, Hoffenheim, and Josip Poulsen from Hamburg are at the end of the list. I don't know who's taking this besides Harry Kane. You need an injury most likely to have that happen, and then there's probably a lot of goals split between Bayern Munchen, and I'm not really sure there's much there that I'm thinking about, I gotta say. So, with all that said, I think the answer is Harry Kane, and it's time to get to the ultimate best bet. Thank you for staying in, tuning in to a decently long episode, I think, from the German Bundesliga. Try to get everybody ready for the second weekend of the football season in Europe. I think there's a lot to do in the Bundesliga. I thought goals were extremely over expected last year, so unders were great, but the Bundesliga sometimes does see a ton of goal scoring action, so we need to see how that all look as we get deeper into the season. Clearly, the betting markets have taken some opinions versus the values of clubs like Leipzig, and I think that's where I'm going to focus. If you're not following me yet on Patreon, patreon.com/real_G Warner, after an incredibly bad March and April of Major League Baseball, we have jumped and we're in the plot positive. It's been a couple of really good months. Poor, I think it was June, but July was great. May was awesome. And August has been good, a little bit up and down to start, but has been really good lately and trying to keep that momentum going as we move forward. All my plays across all sports come on Patreon. Of course, thank you to the pregame.com supporters. Also want to thank the new subscribers that I need to mention, who's been back on the Patreon side, and I appreciate that immensely because that's where you're gonna get all my stuff, all my plays overnight, and everything that you could ever want, hopefully. But yeah, new members, Avid Rice Eater, thank you for coming in. Also, Kelvin, thank you, new and of course Kevin Welsh for coming back, longtime supporter, of course. So I think it's time for the ultimate best bet. You can follow me at @the_Real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, YouTube, anywhere you can find social media. Also, potentially adding some new places where you can find me, but those are still under wraps for now. For an ultimate best bet on this episode, I think the answer to me is really trying to pick off a potentially worth keeping your money tied up for 6 months or so, especially without relegation numbers. Unfortunately, if I had those, I might look a little bit deeper there. But I do think Leipzig to finish ahead of Leverkusen and Dortmund is just underpriced right now. So I'll go RB Leipzig plus 450 to finish, I guess, to win the German Bundesliga without Bayern München. So pretty much picking them to finish above Dortmund, above Leverkusen. Eintracht Frankfurt are also very interesting to finish top four. But I do think there's some questions about how much they'll sell. They seem to sell everything every year, and that's the biggest question. So I'll see you on the next episode, most likely tomorrow night on this channel, talking Serie A in Italy. And then we'll be back this weekend for, of course, another big weekend in the, I guess, international soccer world, as all the big leagues will be under routes, and we'll get ready for Champions League and all those things coming up later in the season. Ciao.